Well, I'm on a different water this week. I wasn't supposed to be fishing at all, but then I looked at the weather forecast and it gave out a massive drop in pressure from, I think it was 1,020 down to 991 or something. I thought, well, I've got to get out for a quick night. So I didn't have a chance to travel down to the main valley water that I've been fishing, so I decided to stay a little bit more local. So this place is about half an hour away from my home. I joined it this year because it's got some nice fish in it. You know, the big one's just turned 40, so it's not a massive fish by national standards, but it's pretty big for the area. And being it's not too far away from my house, I think it's worth a go. Especially the fact that it's only 3 acres, which is kind of what I like in winter. You know, kind of smallish water, so you're never too far away from the fish. So yeah, it was a nice session last night, and I managed to get one as well. It wasn't the biggest fish in the world at £22, but still I'm pleased. It's always nice to get the first fish from a new water. The video footage that I took of it isn't brilliant. Basically, I've got a new camera, and there's a few technical issues, like issues with me knowing how to use the camera, and the wind was absolutely horrific, so the sound quality is rubbish. I mean, that's why I'm filming in here now. If I took the camera outside, you just wouldn't be able to hear a single thing. The wind is absolutely ripping through. It's giving out for 25 miles an hour, I think the weather forecast gave it out for, and the lake is very open, so it's absolutely whistling around. So yeah, this is going to be my winter water. I don't know if I'm going to fish here from here on in, or what I'm going to do. I'm just going to play things by ear a little bit. If it's mild, then I'll be probably back down the Nene Valley next week. I've got a couple of nights to string together. If the cold weather comes in, you know, like normal December type weather, then I'll probably drop on here for the rest of the winter. But we'll just play things by ear a little bit and see what happens. But yeah, I'll show you the video footage now of that 22 I caught last night. 990, so I had to sneak an extra night because this one wasn't planned. So it's just a quick overnighter, and it's always nice to have your first fish from a new water. It weighed in at 22¼ pound. Still very happy. Here I am, back down on the 3 acre lake again. My last session was 2 weeks ago and I caught that 22 pounder. And after talking to a couple of people on the bank, it sounds like that's been the only one out in the last 2 months, so quite pleased with that result. I got down here yesterday afternoon and there's one guy across on the far bank, so I thought I'd give him a bit of space, and I dropped back in this swim again, which is where I had the 22 from last week. But the weather's changed completely now. It's still windy, but it's dropped very, very cold. There's a bit of a ground frost last night, and it's proper winter conditions. You know, more like what you'd expect in December, rather than what it has been recently. But last night I didn't get a beep at all. No action whatsoever. Literally the only action I've had is literally 2 minutes ago when that right-hand rod just had 2 beeps on it. So hopefully there's a few fish feeding in around the area, and that was a line bite. Well, either that or I've just been turned over. But no, I was pretty glad to get a bit of sleep last night. I'm all flued up at the minute, so I'm not feeling on top of the world. So I managed to get myself 12 hours sleep, which is a bit of a rare luxury. But anyway, we're well rested, so I think I might do tonight as well, being as the sun comes out and it's looking all right. So I've got a bit of bait out in the swim anyway, so I'm hoping they're going to move on to that. But I've not seen a great deal this session, so I don't know where the fish are. So I'm just hoping they're going to move on to the bait. I thought I'm going to change things around a little bit tonight to try something a little bit different. So what I've done, I've just set up this. It's basically a running lead. So it's an inline lead, just running on a Corda safe zone leader. Literally all I've done is just take the insert out of the lead and thread it onto the leader. Now, as you can see, it slides right down and just hits against the ring on the swivel. So hopefully that'll help fool the fish. You know, it's something a little bit different, because it's these little lakes that do receive a bit of pressure. The fish can't really get away from the lines in the water, so they have learned to be a bit riggy. So I'm just hoping that something running where there's no fixed resistance on the line might help me get a bite and stop the fish from turning me over. But we shall see. But this is the little rig I'm going to be using on it. I seem to have lost my tail rubber. No, never mind. I'll show you without anyway. So I'm just going to quickly clip this on. Now for bait, I've just got a little white popple. If you can quite see that in the silhouette against the sun. The sun's just come out for the first time today. So it's the Edge from Aquadynamics. I've got a little stick mix on there as well. Again, same flavouring. And I'm going to use a little bag. So all I like to do here is just clip this bag on. I'm going to get the hook right. Sorry, just hook the bag on. In the bag there's a few boilers and a few pellets. Again, it's all the same flavour in the Edge. So I just like to hook it on like that, and then slide the bag down just to stop the hook point catching or anything on the way down. It's probably not so important on waters like this where there's no weed, but I always like to do it just for the sake of confidence. And because I've got a pop-up on, I'm just going to put a little weight on to weight it down. Now I have already balanced this out and it does sink with a number 4 shot. It's tricky to do when you're putting a bag on, you know, to put the weight on first. So I've tested it first, dried it all out, stuck the little what do they call it, stick mix bag over the hook, and then just crimp the weight on. So this is how it's going to sit, like that. Call it my little mushroom PVA rig, and hopefully that might do the trick to get me a fish. Now it is important when using PVA on a running lead to make sure you feather it as soon as it hits the water, or make sure it hits the clip properly, because otherwise the lead will slide back and give you an absolute rubbish presentation. But if you feather it down so it all hits the water nice and tight, then the lead should stay in place and it will just sink down to the bottom like that, and sink it on a tight line as well, and the lead will stay in place when you do that. So hopefully I might get a fish off that tonight, but time will tell. Well, I'm just about to pack up, and it turns out the session is going to be a big fat blank, but never mind. I shouldn't beat myself up too much really, because it was bitterly cold the last couple of days. It's a bit warmer now the sun's finally come out, but yeah, never mind, it's one of those things. Tactic wise, I probably didn't do things too wrong. I still think they'll have a bit of bait in here, and I've put a bit of bait out this session, so I don't think I got things too wrong on that instance. Basically, I know it's mid-December, but we've only just had the first few bits of frost, so probably to the fish and to the water temperature it's probably only start of November. So that probably didn't get that too wrong. What I probably could have done better was I probably should have moved that top end on the back of the wind. Even though it was a southerly wind and a southwesterly wind, it has been bitterly cold. So maybe that's put the fish off a little bit, and they've probably backed right off the wind. So I probably got that a little bit wrong. Maybe I should have moved yesterday, but I haven't been feeling too chippy with man flu, and so I spent a lot of time sitting in the bivvy and not looking for fish, and I spent a hell of a lot of time sleeping as well. So yeah, I probably didn't get things quite right. The stock of the lake probably isn't what I thought it was. I thought it was about 50 fish in here when I first joined. But talking to a few of the members, and they've been comparing photographs over the years, and they've only found 20 odd different fish. So there's probably only half the stock of what I thought it was. So it's going to be a little bit tricky, but still, in 3 acres and 20 odd fish, it shouldn't be too tricky. Although I have been told it's got no winter form whatsoever. You know, I can't find too many people that caught too much in winter. Just the odd fish here and there have come out as a fluke rather than people putting anything together. So it's going to be a bit trickier than what I thought it was going to be. But I like a good challenge, so we'll see how things pan out through the rest of the winter. I might be able to sneak a night in next week, I think, if I can get things right and the weather's right. But otherwise, it'll probably be between Christmas and New Year. So hopefully, I'll catch something then.